You're listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation with Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli. Strategic and tactical advice about inbound sales and marketing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Yin and Yang Show. We're so grateful you guys are joining us again. And I am Lindsay Kelly, joined as always by my fabulous co-host, Brian Sig. How you doing today, Brian?
Hey, Lindsay, I'm not doing so well.
I'm sorry.
The Patriots could not bring home another Super Bowl, unfortunately, and I've been getting text messages all last night and most of this morning from all my friends who live in basically any other state than Massachusetts or from any other state than Massachusetts. So I'm trying to swallow my pride, take one on the chin like a champ, but you know it's been a trying 12 hours or so.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up. I could have cared less who won. However, I did love the commercials. And we have two guests today that are just near and dear to my heart because they are part of the partner community. Both have inspired me and basically almost been mentors to me because I've followed them from afar and up close. We have Bob Ruffalo and Marcus Sheridan, both from Impact. Hello, guys.
Hello, hello.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
I like that, both from Impact. That sounds good.
That might be the first time we got that introduction.
Yeah, it is the first time we've got that intro. So that's a good thing.
So the quick backstory for our listening audience. Bob is one of the founders of Impact, and he has grown an amazing agency over the course of the past, a decade?
And so 8 years, 8.5 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
So you're coming up on a decade there soon.
Yeah.
And in conjunction with that, Marcus has also grown an amazing yet different focus agency inside of the HubSpot community, the Sales Lion. And you know, they both had different areas of expertise, and they have been collaborating on so many things together. They decided that it was time for them to merge. And when I saw that, I was like, there could not have been. And I thought the Quintain merger that Bob did before was a great marriage, but this one is just makes absolute perfect sense, because if you've ever heard Marcus Sheridan speak, he is inspirational. He is amazing when it comes to teaching and educating and inspiring others. And you know, I think, you know, Bob, that's got to be such an asset to bring to your amazing abilities to really grow your clients' base of leads, convert them. It's just such an amazing merger. So happy for you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really excited. It's, you know, it starts with the purpose of really just helping our audience and helping our clients. And, you know, we've done the agency thing for a lot of years, but to really succeed with inbound and really master this, you really, inside the organization, you have to have a strong understanding, a strong education on what this is all about. And I think that's where Marcus has really shined for all these years. Plus, we work so well together. Yeah. Now putting this whole package together where we can teach people, we can help them do it, or we can do it for them. It's really, I mean, it's so early, but we think it's gonna be really special.
You know, too, I've spoken to like so many thousands of audiences, and 90% of the time when they say, could you help us with this or that, Marcus, I've had to say no, right? And now I have the ability to say yes at least 90% of the time. That makes me really happy. I think, you know, I started the Sales Line to do something really special, and it allowed me to get to this point with Bob. Our team is excited, and so I think, you know, we're ready to move on to what is essentially chapter 2 for this. And you know, I mean, like everything else, I'm sure there's going to be this period where we're working, you know, stuff out or whatever. But the transition has been wonderful. And like you said, Lindsay, what we did as a modified agency is what I always called us. We fit right into the agency services side of Impact, very complementary. And so now we're really ready to see where it takes us.
Bob, could you tell us the origin story of how you and Marcus originally met?
Yeah, it was inbound 2012 at the Heinz Convention Center. I saw him walking down the hall, and I got all excited, like, oh my God, it's Marcus Sheridan. And so I think that was our first conversation. You probably don't remember that.
I don't remember that. I remember the first time I ever saw you, which was he had just cleaned up on all these like newcomer of the year awards for HubSpot. And I literally said to myself, like, who's that company with the two really good looking guys for owners? And it was him and Tom, right? And it's like, dude, their hair is way too perfect. What is their deal? And so that was the first time I saw them, and I knew they had done great things. And what's really funny, what most people don't know, is I had approached Bob probably about 4 years ago, and I said, I want to work together more. And at the time, Bob said, I don't think it's a good fit. It's just funny how that's just how it works. And he was right. I mean, it wasn't the right time. And then over the last 18 months to 2 years, then we started working together a lot, like referrals and stuff. And then when we did Impact Live, the event together, because an event is a powerful thing. It's one of those things where when you're in stressful situations, you get to know people much better, right? And so that was a great test as to really what is the chemistry between him and myself and his team and my team. And I've always wanted to have a great event, not just an average event. And so a big part of this was where could we take together Impact Live? That was a lot of people might think that Impact Live is just this little thing that we do. It's like, that's not how we see it. Impact Live is going to be a major thing that I'm hoping that people will say, and Bob might freak out when I say this, but I hope we'll have thousands of people a year say, well, I'm going to skip Inbound again and go to Impact Live.
I had that thought. I won't lie. I had that thought. I'm like, I've been like 6 times.
I hope you do too. I hope the world for you guys. I hope that event grows, and I would love to see you eclipse Inbound.
Well, that's the idea, is that, Inbound, as it's grown, certainly has a role. It's very inspirational, very motivational, very creative. But what we all fell in love with the event, especially us OGs back in the day, was when it was a purely inbound event and helping businesses succeed with inbound. And every session we're going to have this year will be helping people succeed with inbound. It won't be fluff. It won't be fun. It won't be light. It'll be really tactical, and we're hoping to help a lot of businesses.
Yeah, and we recognize it's not for everybody. We're not looking to have an event with 20,000 people or celebrity keynotes. It's not the goal. And I can see why HubSpot has a goal to different, they elected to go down a different road with the brand that is the inbound event.
Which is great.
Yeah, totally fine. It's their choice, but we want something very salt to the inbound earth, right? And that's what we're trying to achieve. But I think that represents who we are too overall as a company, and it represents too that full circle of education that we want to offer. Because what's interesting about this is, if you look out there in the marketplace, there's not many companies that I'm aware of that have been able to do what we want to do. And what we want to do is we want to become the premier agency, educator / consultant company, right? That's the old TSL model. The premier event, right? And have an advanced education, like ongoing subscription model style, like a B2B, like a marketing prof style almost. And so if you look at it like CMI, Content Marketing Institute, they had the big event and they had some premium content, but they didn't do any services. And HubSpot it's the same thing. For the most part, they don't do some of the services. And most of the agencies just do agency stuff for the most part, right? And so we're trying to do all those things. People might think it's crazy, but it's really what we want. I think we're going to achieve it.
And that's a niche market.
Yeah. The idea is being the go-to resource to help you master inbound. That's the idea.
So tell us a little bit, just I guess a plug for Impact Live. If anybody listening wants to attend or register or sign up for the event this year, can you give us some details on basically when, where it's happening, and how to get engaged?
Hartford, Connecticut, August 7th and 8th. Just get here. It's going to be awesome. And we've really been working really hard on the agenda. We have Ann Hanley as one of our keynotes. Dharmesh Shah is one of our keynotes. David Meerman Scott is back. Obviously, Marcus is on stage throughout the entire event, driving home points from all the different sessions, bringing it home at the end of the event. We give out awards. We're making a lot of fun. But again, everything is about succeeding with inbound. All the latest things you need to know, whether it's Facebook ads, ABM, automation,
sales. Like, especially like this is an event you can bring your sales team to. And the cool thing too is it's cheap. I mean,
It is cheap. I couldn't
Bob-
believe it when I was listening to the
Bob and I
Impact
argue
show,
about
and I'm
this
like, wait,
all
how
the
much is
time.
it?
I'm like, dude, it's
Yeah.
too cheap, man.
Yeah.
It's like the most expensive ticket we have, Bob, is how much?
It's right now it's like $500.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's the
for
most.
a VIP.
That's
and
a VIP. That's like the
one of
fully
75
loaded.
people, and you get to sit with all the speakers.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we're trying to approach this for the long game, big picture. We had about 200 people last year. We'd like to see if we can get at least double that this year. I think we'll
We'll be
achieve
at
it.
500 this year.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And people just, I mean, you can see the community starting to pop. I mean, the community's popping, and they can sense there's a movement happening with impact. That's, I think, why we've been able to attract some of the employees that we have, like the Stephanie Stevenses of the world that's now head of our community here at Impact.
I saw that you snagged her. I was like, good for you guys.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's been, Bob and I have had that conversation now for over a year. So
Does she bring the HubSpot bike to work?
Yeah, she does have a HubSpot bike. Yeah.
I was very jealous when she won that. I wanted it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But I mean, so it's very exciting growing a community in-house and externally of truly passionate inbounders. That's the goal.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you guys, you both know how much I think of you, and I think the world of each of you.
By the way.
I'm sorry?
Feelings mutual, by the way.
Oh, yay. Thank you. And they love you too, Sig. You're here, right?
Don't worry, I'm just here.
Well, I was almost dead silent the entire Pete Caputa interview because it was like two old buddies getting back together, and I'm like, so okay, never mind. No, just go ahead. So I'm like, wait, this is my turn. These are my people. So I want to dive into, so your agency serves a variety of different verticals, and everybody always wants to talk about what is working in filling the funnel in all different stages, but it's getting harder and more difficult as consumers are figuring out, oh, if I give them my email address, this is going to happen, and what if it's not what I expected, which is what we've been conditioned to as buyers, because we oftentimes get that disappointing piece of content that is not what we expected, and so our trust is broken down. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about what marketing strategies are working for your clients today, as you guys, because I know that you use your own agency too as a case test, because I listen to all of the, pretty much every podcast you all have now that I have an hour commute each way, and the poor she shed is all alone. But I want to talk about, like, what you're seeing that that's working really well right now.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. If you go back to inbound marketing 2012, 2013, it wasn't that hard to create some keyword optimized blog articles, get found organically in Google, maybe schedule some social media posts on Twitter, maybe get found through that channel. But the world has significantly changed. And I think they're in a world where we're so oversaturated with content, and you're exactly right. It's all about trust. So creating really good quality content that people can actually trust takes a lot of work, and it's a lot of effort, and it's hard to do. Some of the things that you can do to alleviate that, and I'll let Marcus dig into more about video, but I think when you do video as a medium, you are showing your true self and your true expertise. You're not hiding behind something that was like, is this written by a writer, or is this written by, who is actually behind this content? When you bring video into your content, whether it's embedded right in the middle of a blog article, you're getting more trust. But I think the other big part of it, which we're working significantly hard at here at Impact, and we're doing this for our clients as well, is the community. And I think that's all plays into trust, because you get more social proof. When you have a community, you're getting more comments, you're getting more shares, you're getting more authority to your content, you're getting more media mentions, all the things you need to do to get more brand awareness, and it all fits right back into trust.
Yeah. I mean, there's, on a tactical level, right? What's working? Well, there's a reason why we are getting ready to make a major service offering here at Impact, Facebook ads. Because the targeted ads, especially with social, is still an area where it's not overly saturated. There's a lot of there's few people that really understand it well, how to do it well. All right. Lots of companies are dipping their toes in the water. They're not doing it well. So I think there's really, really big opportunities there for those that are willing to learn how to do it and then do it the right way, give it its right investment and track it accordingly. Certainly, like what Bob said with video, I mean, we're seeing some amazing things with video. And here's the big key with video. I think the problem is most companies approach video as a marketing initiative. It's really a sales initiative. There's just no question about it. And to give you an example, I mean, the first thing, if you create a video with your company, and hopefully your sales team was collaborated with so that you even knew like what is the hot buttons that they're dealing with every single day. But they should be notified immediately of how they can integrate that video into their sales process, the problem that it solves, examples of usages, right? And so this is, but it goes beyond that. They should be engaged in these videos. Ideally, they're the subject matter experts because we naturally, if we help create something, we own it, we appreciate it much more than if we don't have anything to do with it, right? There's just little things like that we're doing. Most of our clients now, we've got like little things like bio videos and email signatures.
Oh, that's interesting.
Have that. And that's you would be amazed. I'd say right now, less than 5% of all sales teams have bio videos in their email signatures. It doesn't take very long to establish. We have created, I mean, I bet you we've got at least 30 plus clients now at this point where their entire sales team has a bio video that is integrated into their email signature. They're tracking it. And what's crazy, Lindsay, is you can do that and you'll literally see times where it gets viewed more than 100 times per month just from an email signature. It's like little things. Video is an ongoing evolution. It's exciting. We're teaching a ton of it. And that was one of the big things. Like, I mean, Bob and I spend a lot of our conversation talking about how we at Impact can do video better, how we can teach it better. And certainly listeners can look to that because we're going to have so much video-based content that they can view and learn about how to become a media company themselves.
That's amazing. And tell me, where are you hosting just the little sales intros that go in their signatures?
So generally speaking, most of our clients, we end up recommending YStamp, which is an email signature tool, and there's a free and a paid version. If you want to get really analytical, you can use Sigster. So those are the two that we'd recommend, and we're big fans of Sigster here at Impact. And so those are the two that we would suggest. The beauty behind it is I have not seen, what happens is you upload it to YouTube, and then you just put the YouTube link within the actual tool, and it naturally shows that video for you. So really any person could do it. It requires almost no time. And for whatever reason, we found that it doesn't hinder, what's the thing, sometimes when you try to send videos, some companies don't receive them.
Oh, because the filters.
Yeah, it filters, but we haven't seen that issue whatsoever when integrating it in with these email signature platforms. It's a no-brainer, and you can rotate them out. You can talk about some of the latest and greatest company events. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do this. It's silly, but your email signature is the least utilized yet most viewed marketing tool that you have.
Yeah.
That's a great point. And Marcus, just to take a step back and a minute into the conversation, if we could rewind, you were talking about sharing when you have these videos, sharing this with the sales team, enabling them to use it in different portions of their sales process. Now, I don't know about many of our listeners, but we have had challenges, and I say we being my current company as well as companies I've worked with in the past, of actually getting a defined sales process and then actually getting that information to them to share. Do you have tips on how to get that process from sales and then how to distribute? Here's what we have for you guys.
Okay, so I have a lot of opinions on this because, and this is going to sound braggadocious, but as you know, Lindsay, I've probably given more workshops to sales teams about inbound marketing than anybody in the world at this point. I think I'm above 250 of these workshops.
That's safe to say, for sure.
Yeah, I've done a lot, and I'm very passionate about this area. And so what I have found is nothing great happens unless you get people in a room together and they're forced to verbalize the way they do what they do, the way they think, what they believe, and then you're able to work through issues. In other words, lots of times when companies embrace video, there's resistance from subject matter experts, sales team included. Lots of times when a company embraces inbound, there's resistance from leadership or sales team. And the whole reason why resistance exists, it's usually almost always because of ignorance. And ignorance exists because of a lack of education. A lack of education exists because the sales team, the leadership team isn't attending the inbound events. They're not coming to the Impact Lives. And this is why we do so many workshops, because the workshop puts everybody in a room where they're forced to look at this and address it and come to an agreement. It's funny, but most companies don't have a doctrine according to to them. So in other words, they don't have a defined sales process. They don't have a defined content marketing strategy, like you mentioned. They don't know why they should be participating with video and using video. And so that's why, you know, with Impact, our goal is we're trying to get to the point where people throughout the world, when they say, I need to get buy-in with this, whatever it is, I need to get somebody else on my team to get it, that they say Impact has a workshop for that. Because I think we're going to have somewhere around 15 different, within the next couple months as they're unrolled, like 15 unique workshops that we have as a company that we offer to the public for anybody, because this issue with buy-in is fundamentally the biggest problem we have in this space. Right. By far.
Yeah. No, buy-in is, yeah.
An inbound marketing service retainer, but will they actually enable the agency or enable their teams to do what they actually have to do to be successful? Or is it really just
you're going to be met with resistance, right? Yeah. And that's the, the big key to all this stuff is in life or in inbound, you want to resolve concerns before they become concerns, right? That's why you start with the great education. That's why you have the workshop. You address these things before they even come up. That way people can say, whoa, why are we talking about that? Why are we doing it this way? Why are you making me be on camera? They already know. They already know. And because they know, we don't have those same obstacles and resistance.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Bob, because yeah, buy-in definitely is a big part. Go ahead, Sig, sorry.
No, I was just wondering, where do you face the most resistance? It sounds like maybe in the sales function, but if not sales or in sales, I just want to hear more about that. And then whichever function or functions those are, why do you think there is so much resistance?
I think all these things take a little bit of work. It takes practice to get good at something. It's like writing a blog article for the first time. You have to get better at it, and it's frustrating the first few times you do it. So, I think there's resistance there. I think it's the same thing about being in front of a camera, whether you're a salesperson or an executive of your company or leader of the company. I think there's just natural resistance to not want to do that. Other things seem to be more important. I do think the other things are more important does pull away. So it's, we're so busy making the thing, as Marcus might say, that we're not really thinking about building our business and making it better. Right. I don't know. So what else would you say would be?
Well, yeah, I mean, not for me to beat a dead horse, but everything, in my opinion, comes back to a lack of education. The number one email, Sig, that I've gotten over the past 6 or 7 years is, as I've been writing and talking about this stuff, what's surprising is even though I talk about content and inbound and sales and marketing, you would think the number one email would be from business owners or marketers that are saying, hey, I'm trying to increase my traffic, leads, and sales. That's number two. The number one email that I get comes from marketers, and it sounds something like this. Marcus, I believe so much in this whole inbound thing, and I'm so sick and tired of coming to my team with great ideas, yet nobody wants to engage, nobody wants to participate, and I'm on an island all by myself, and I'm at wit's end. And it's a prolific problem that we have in the industry, and it goes back to the education. But if you look at the education wasn't set up right in the first place. Let's analyze Inbound the event for a second. Inbound the event made a huge mistake because they called it a marketing conference. And when you start off, I learned a long time ago, and you know this as well as I do, Sig, if you want to get something improved in business, you call it sales. If you want to get it tabled for later or rejected entirely, you call it marketing. That's how it works. This is why most companies have CRMs and way less have marketing automation, right? It's just a matter of where we see the money is coming from. And so because we have made this such a marketing-based conversation, it's turned a lot of people off. Words matter. Semantics make a big, big difference. And so we've got to change that conversation. I'm glad that HubSpot over the last couple of years, they changed it to a sales and marketing event. It was what it should have been, from the beginning. This is the mentality that we've got to teach. And, HubSpot is not a marketing automation tool. HubSpot is a sales tool primarily that happens to measure your marketing very, very well.
Yep.
No arguments here.
I think Sig has some background noise because he keeps muting himself. I love it.
I have a bunch of trucks that go by. I live in South Boston, and if you haven't come to beautiful South Boston, also known as the Irish Riviera, there are plenty of trucks that come through there. It's actually not too far from where the inbound event itself is held. I'm about probably 3 or 4 blocks away from the Boston Convention Center. And I agree with you, Marcus. I mean, as a rep, as a manager, teaching reps on my team, kind of the value prop of HubSpot and how to make it kind of pop. Even when we got down into the exploration process with potential new customers, agency partners, channel deals, etc., the way we would often start demos would be on a contact record, and we would show them all the different lead intelligence and asking them questions. If your sales team had access to this type of information, what sort of change do you think you would see? Or what do you think they would do with this?
Love it.
And usually the answer was almost always, oh my God, if they had this information, this would totally change the quality of the conversations they're having.
Yes. Game changer.
And that's just one small example, but I think you're right. We always, I don't want to say always, but I think that at least I can speak from my own experience and my team's experience, we would try to position everything as this is how it's going to benefit you from a sales or revenue perspective, and less so about, again, unless we were selling into a marketer who cared about all the details and all the mechanics and all the cool features and all of that, which we'd spend a ton of time on as well. But ultimately, more often than not, when we got to that decision-making point in the conversation, it was almost always about how is this going to ultimately impact revenue? How is this ultimately going to impact our sales team? Before we even had a CRM for that matter.
Right.
Yeah. So transitioning just a little bit, I want to talk, Bob, I would like you to share a little bit about, we already touched a little bit on, what inbound and what inbound marketing and inbound sales kind of looked like a couple of years ago and how we're transitioning. I want your predictions for the future. And then I want Marcus to go after that. But I want to talk about how marketing is going to be changing in the next 5 years. What is it going to look like? Is it going, how does it impact marketing and how does it impact sales?
I think my prediction for the future is twofold. I think we're going to be fast tracking to the future, but I also think we're going to be going back in time, both at the same time. I think there's going to be such a need for these old school traditional marketing methods, that focusing on the brand, focusing on what the company stands for, word of mouth, customer success, all the things that really, really matter the most to a company. I think inbound gave us promise that we can hack our ways almost to success, but I think that window is kind of closing, and so we have to almost go back. But I think at the same time, there's going to be a lot more automation that's going to be mixed in, which is going to make our lives a lot easier. So we're going to be able to do more faster, but just because you could do more faster, I still think it needs to be high quality. So I think we'll continue to see a lot of automation simplify marketing activities. And I don't think we're going to see what AI can do for a long time. But I think starting in 18, 19, 20, that's what we're going to start seeing. Is it's going to start making our lives a little bit easier, but it's also going to make things a lot more competitive. That's my prediction.
This is a loaded question.
It is, isn't it? I was waiting for Marcus to start with. This is quite a loaded question.
Yeah, there's so many places where we can go. Let me just give you my quick thoughts, right? I think speed is the new customer service in many ways. In other words, if we have a problem with an item, we want to know immediately, is somebody working on it? That's speed. But speed is the new marketing. If you come to the site, you want your questions answered that second as a buyer. You want to feel like you got it and you got it right then. Sales, speed. You want to eliminate the hiccups with the buying process. Like with Amazon's new retail store. What's that thing called? Amazon, where basically there's no cashiers.
Oh, their grocery store.
Yeah, there's no cashiers. There's no credit cards. There's no wallets. All you do is you go through a turnstile and they know it's you. You pick up what you want from the shelf. You bring your own bag and you walk out with it. You don't talk with anybody. It's as fast it could possibly be. That's a very smart business model by Bezos and team. Very, very smart. And I think that's where we're headed. And so everything that I think about these days comes down to speed. You know, like I got a swimming pool company, as you know. And so we're trying to develop an app right now which allows them to build their swimming pool and get as close as possible to a cost as we could give them, which no manufacturer in the industry is doing, because they're like, well, you can't do that because we're manufacturing and we have dealers. I'm like, it's all about speed, and they want immediate gratification. And so we need to be thinking about that. I think also there's this huge movement of personalization in the way that we search naturally that affects all elements of business, right? So an example of this would be the phrase "for me" has exploded from a search perspective. So the phrase "for me" in conjunction with a phrase has grown 120% over the last 2 years. For example, what is the best type of car insurance for me? What is the best diet for me? It's a very personalized, individualized way that we have evolved as searchers. This is going to become greater. And so each of us on our websites, we need to have in our websites and our sales process, we need to give people the ability to immediately identify the thing that fits their needs the best. And so this "for me" mindset is a huge deal. Phrases with "should I" have increased by 60% over the last 2 years. And so anything like, should I invest in Bitcoin, right? That's a huge one, right? That's a huge one right now. That's a huge one. There's tons of ones. Should I get a haircut is a very popular one. This is crazy. It's crazy, but this is the way that we have evolved as digital buyers and consumers. I think we need to take note of that, and our sites should reflect that more than they ever have. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about right now. But ultimately, the good thing is, I think, as Bob mentioned, the best teachers, the best communicators, the ones that get that this is all just about trust anyway, regardless of what happens with digital, they're probably going to be very, very effective.
Well, and I'm actually a little surprised that neither one of you mentioned voice search either.
Well, voice goes in conjunction with that natural search, right? I mean, I think voice is a very, very big deal, and it aligns itself with that because we see search as not an entity within Google, but it could be just whether it's our phone or whether it's our Alexa or whatever it is, just AI is our personal assistant. And we're talking to our personal assistant like we would talk to a confidant, right? When you say, a prolific search right now is, should I text him? That's it's one of the top 5 should I searches in the world right now. Should I text him? Now think about that for a second. That is the essence of going to AI as your personal assistant, as your confidant, and saying, what should I do? So it permeates everything that we're talking about right now. It's very, very fascinating to me, the psychology of the way that we buy and the way that we are willing to ask questions. And let's just be honest, privacy doesn't mean anything to anybody. It just doesn't mean anything to anybody. It's completely overrated. We've given up on that, as the millennials just don't care. They don't care about the privacy. And that's why Bezos can have a store that has about 6 million cameras watching you the whole way.
Wow.
Because we don't care about privacy.
Wow. Well, I'm a little sad that the whole picking up your phone and calling your friend in high school going, shouldn't I just call him? Because we didn't have text back then. Should I beep him? Remember beepers? Yeah. So that element is lost. We are now asking Alexa if we should call the boy or not, or text the boy.
Yes.
Crazy to think, you know what I
The
mean?
world in which we live.
And one thing on voice assistants too, it's actually not that different than Google search. So the same practices, if you want to optimize for voice search, are really not that different than you would if you're trying to optimize to be found in Google. So we're already taking the you ask or they ask you answer approach.
Yep.
Which, by the way, is Marcus's book. I would like to throw that in there. One of the
And it's
best
a
books
good
I've
one.
ever read.
I'll throw that in there.
It's a great one.
It really is. They ask you answer. Seriously, go to Amazon. And then when you're ordering, put that in your cart and also put Brian Signorelli's book, Inbound Selling, in there as well. It comes
we
out.
can't do a reverse plug. I mean, you know,
I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
appreciate it, but-
We're already talking to Alexa, so we might as well tell her to order us books too.
But they're just not different things. Voice search and organic search are really one and the same. I mean, it gets the information from the same sources. So to keep things easy for marketers, just think the same way. Just answer the questions the best you possibly can, and you'll probably win in voice search too.
Yeah, but answer the questions as they would think it, as
Yes.
they would say it, and thus as they would search it. And people forget that sometimes, but that's like, you know, you look at a lot of the stuff, especially when people are talking about SEO these days, and I'm like, would they search it like that? Well, like, no, they probably wouldn't search it like that. Well, then it's probably not the right way.
Yeah.
It's not a best practice at that point.
I know. Yeah, my whole, like, you know, my company versus this company went over like a lead balloon, by the way. But we're still gonna do it. So, well, and I know we've taken so much of your time. Just a couple more questions for you guys. What are one or two things that you think that sales and marketing leaders should be aware of and doing with their teams so that they can properly match how people buy? I totally stole that question from you, Sig.
Okay, say it one more. I just want to make sure I clearly understand it. One more time, Lindsay.
So the leaders of your sales and marketing organization, what are things that they should be aware of and should be doing so that they're trying to match how people buy today? Because everybody is so stuck in this, oh, well, this is how it's always worked. What are the things they need to be aware of? I mean, this goes back to
Okay, here's
education.
a couple ones for you. You send your sales team to the marketing conferences, and you send the marketing team to the sales conferences.
That's a really good point.
You send
Great point.
you send your sales team to work hand in hand with marketing when they're producing their campaigns, and you send marketing on sales calls, and you allow them to really embed themselves into the conversations that the sales team is having with prospects and clients. If you're not doing that enough, you're going to have this big, huge silo, whether you realize it or not. Right? They cannot be ignorant of the sales side of the thing. I think that's, to me, that's a big one. You know,
And if I could piggyback on that one,
yeah.
and take all of them and integrate them into the customer service department and make sure they're talking to your actual clients or your actual customers on a very frequent basis, taking all the questions they need to and I would even say that extends over to product as well, just fully understanding what problems that the customers are having. Can we better solve that as a company? Can we better solve that in our content? Can we better handle those objections during sales?
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Well, I think one other one, and this is the one that I've been doing more of because I think sales and marketing teams are finally getting it a little bit. And this might sound silly to you, but communication training. So if you look at really what marketing is, it's the ability to communicate at a level that everybody can understand you, but it grabs the audience. They're able to nod their head and say, I get it, I understand it. Sales team has to be able to do that as well. And so I've been spending a decent amount of my time, so I'll go to an organization and they'll have me give, let's say, a digital marketing keynote. But then they say, could you work with our sales team or marketing team or both on the principles of higher level communication? I mean, GE just hired me recently to do a full workshop on storytelling, right? And storytelling, all that is just communicating at a really clear level so that everybody understands you. That's really all it is. And so I am glad to see people are getting that, because for some reason, over the course of time, we are not as good at that magical yet incredibly important skill called communicating, and it permeates every element of our business.
That's an excellent point, because that really, I mean, now for the first time in my life, I'm in a global company and it is overwhelming. It's hard to communicate to that many people around the globe. I mean, scheduling meetings alone. But I mean, it's a key element. And, you know, I think that there's always room for improvement in that as well. So
I think it's a really interesting point that you raised, Marcus. I mean, you think about, you know, and both you guys have been so quotable. I've been kind of jotting down, you know, notes and little sound bites as we go here. We'll ultimately get this whole thing transcribed. But, you know, you mentioned things like, I mean, speed. And we all know that we live in the on-demand economy. And with the rise of all of the speed that comes along with it, comes the fall, I think, of quality communication, because we just don't have to put in that thought. I mean, I remember back to when I finally convinced my mom to text back and forth with my brothers and I. And she just kept saying, she's like, it's just so informal. Can't you just call? Can't you call? And yeah, so we call, you know, we don't just text, but I think, yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more that the faster everything gets, and the more on demand things become, the lower the quality, the communication, I think, that we see in general, in our own lives, in business. It's all the same thing at the end of the day. So it's interesting that you kind of dialed up the volume on the ability to communicate and storytelling as, frankly, a dying or perhaps lost art.
That's right. That's right.
That's excellent. I love that. So we have crossed many bridges and talked about many things. And so my last question to you guys will be, for each of you separately. We'll let Bob go first, and then Marcus. Which tool, marketing or non-marketing related, is a must-have for you today?
HubSpot.
Aside from the obvious.
Yeah, that's, and do you
Want me to go first?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I'm
go
gonna go
first. I'm
first.
gonna think which ones.
Just one that I've been using a lot of. Huge fan of Soapbox, right? So Soapbox and Vidyard also makes it. Wistia makes Soapbox,
Mhm.
which is the super simple, create a fast video email response to people. I really like this because it adds a personal element. I've been teaching it to sales teams recently. They really like it as well. The click-through rate is much, much higher. And it just represents so well this age of media that we're in, and trying to maintain that human element for things. So if anybody's listening to this and not using Soapbox, and your sales team isn't using Soapbox for, or just, you know, quick embedded videos in your email for your general communications, you're missing a really, really big opportunity. I think it's a tremendous one, and it's something you can teach to your team in literally like less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it does. There's an emotional connection there too, because I've been on the receiving end of them before, and I was very impressed. I was like, it stood out to me in a sea of sameness that I get every day with, can you please point me to the right direction? I'd like to sell you this. Who can I talk to? Having a personalized video directly to that recipient, you know, it evokes an emotional response. So love that. Thank you. Good one.
And for me, I'm actually going to go a little bit outside the box here. I'm going to say Facebook, and I'm going to say specifically Facebook Live and Facebook Groups. Spending a lot of our time, obviously we do the Impact Show. Obviously there's a lot in the news right now about how Facebook's even depreciating page posts even more. So they're not going to show up. You're not going to get really, if you're a brand, you're hardly going to get any organic exposure in your Facebook newsfeed. Yet one of the best ways to break through that is using live video through your business. And Facebook has reason to push those videos. So it does so many good things. It helps you connect personally to your audience by actually being live in front of them. You can communicate through the comments. So live video, we do the Impact Show using Facebook Live, and then Facebook Groups. Again, that's another great way to stay engaged. If you have all these followers on your Facebook page, hardly anyone will see your posts. In a Facebook group, you post in there, and when it's in the group is going to see it. So we've really taken advantage of that, and our group has over 1,800 people, and inside Impact Elite, it's the best place to get in touch with either Marcus or myself after this.
And to learn a lot. I don't post as much as I wish I could. However, some of the tidbits that you get in that group from peers, it's absolutely amazing. And it's all genuine and true and transparent. go to Impact Elite on Facebook and request to join. It's an amazing group.
It's like free knowledge
It is.
with connections. That's great.
Right.
That's wonderful.
You should start charging for it now. Everybody that's already in is in.
Hey,
That reminds me.
maybe an upgrade version someday. So we'll
There
see.
you go. I love that.
Remind-
They even do like one-on-one. They do videos specifically for their audience. I watched the one with Ollie Barron, and it was only for that community. Like, you give them exclusive content, and you just build up, again, this emotional response to, you know, if I didn't know you, I'd be like, oh my God, Bob, it's so endearing that I get all this great free stuff. It's an emotional connection you can create digitally. That's just,
What I did
it's hard to get.
with Rebecca Corliss was one of the best interviews I've ever done in my entire life. So I would definitely highly recommend checking that one out.
Oh, I have to go look at that. I haven't seen that one yet. So, Sig, did you have any closing questions before I asked them for their Twitter handles?
I don't think so. It was a great show. I really appreciate both you guys coming on. Bob, obviously, you know, we go back quite a ways, so it's great to have you on as a guest. And Marcus, I've just admired you from a distance. I don't know if we've actually met in person, but really appreciate you coming on as well, and really excited for both of you in this new union that you have between the Sales Lion and Impact Branding. It's great.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Wishing you many more great successes. And if folks would like to get in touch with you, do you prefer them to connect on LinkedIn, Twitter? How do they get in touch with you?
On Facebook, I would say, and inside Impact Elite. That's the best way to get in touch with us.
Yeah, find us on Impact Elite. Come join the community. Test it out, and I think you'll see that it's well filtered, and you know that's what really makes a group is their controls, not spammy and all those things. So it's wonderful. But hopefully, too, those that are listening to this will want to come meet us in person at Impact Live this August. We're so excited about that. So we'd love to see you there. But Lindsay and Sig, this was a real pleasure for us to be with you today. Thank you.
Now, we are honored to have you on. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Our pleasure.
All right. Well, folks, as always, thank you so much for spending time with us. And, you know, you can always find us at yinandyang.fm. Send us comments, questions, anything you guys want to hear about. But folks, until next time, keep the conversation going.
Yeah, keep talking.
You've been listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation with Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli. Join us online at yinandyang.fm.